We now turn our attention to Soweto, and my colleague Mbalenhle Mthethwa is there for us. Mbalenhle, where exactly are you, and how's the situation on the ground?
Good morning, Simpiwe. I am in Jabulani Mall, back in Jabulani Mall after the scenes we saw yesterday where residents hijacked a pickup truck and drove over the gate, which was manned by a small police contingent, Metro Police to be exact. They then overwhelmed the police and started going inside and looting, taking turns as community members. I've stepped out of shot deliberately in order to just show you the visuals of what has continued to happen even this morning. Now, this side of the Jabulani Mall was fairly quiet yesterday because the police were stationed here and they were literally just cordoning off this area and preventing people from coming across, because people wanted to come and loot and take whatever they could or get their hands on. But it seems as though the looting has continued overnight and has continued this morning. This morning there are so many more cars. People have come with cars. It seems as though people are more prepared and they are continuing unabated. There were private security forces here earlier today which drove by here and told us to leave because they fear for our lives and they fear that things could turn violent around here. And they said because they are leaving, that we'll have no one to protect us, and they advised us to go. But we just stuck around so that we could actually just bring you these visuals just to show you that, you know, nothing has changed since that announcement from President Cyril Ramaphosa about the deployment of the army. You know, it seems as though the police have failed these community members to a certain extent, given the fact that, you know, we heard yesterday the Metro Police officials who were here manning the situation, who were rather overwhelmed, saying that they feel let down by the police force because they were left alone. We understand that usually when there are service delivery protests, you usually have your public order police being deployed on the ground, and we see the use of tear gas, the use of water cannons in order to disperse the crowds. This was not the scene yesterday, not what we saw yesterday. Yesterday we just saw a small group of Metro Police officials just trying their best to man the situation on the ground. At some points we found ourselves inside the mall. We were stuck inside the mall where the entrance we had used was actually being blockaded by residents who were throwing stones at the door, and there was one police official who was trying to scare them away with rubber bullets. And unfortunately we were stuck there for a good 10-15 minutes until we found our way through the back of the mall, and that is where we spoke to one of the business owners here. This gentleman has 3 shops and he was devastated, talking about the fact that it could take as much as up to a year for his businesses to recover. He was really angry. He said he didn't understand why it is that people have gone on such have done such a thing such as this and gone and looted his shops, because, you know, he was asking if this still has to do with the Free Jacob Zuma campaign. But we know from based on yesterday and from conversations that we had with certain people that this had nothing to do with that campaign to free the former president Jacob Zuma. But we heard some reports, some people in some communities saying that this has had more to do with the fact that the alcohol ban was reinstated by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And we know that based on the visuals that we saw yesterday here, one of the biggest targets was the liquor store, and we saw people trying to open that door for most of the day, and they spent a lot of time there, and we heard cheering as soon as we saw those doors going up and being open. So it seems as though it's unclear what is spurring on this continued looting. If this is a matter of unemployment, if this is an issue of young people being unemployed, because what we do see here on the ground is that we're seeing people going in and getting things like milli meal, we're seeing people running outside with food and all of those things. We understand that the COVID-19 pandemic and the hard lockdown meant that a lot of people lost their jobs and the unemployment rate went up, and essentially people, some might say, are hungry, and people are just trying to get as much as they can get in terms of food and sustenance. But those were not the only shops that were looted. We saw clothes being taken, we saw television sets being taken, we saw fridges being taken. But that's not the only thing we saw. I mean, on our way out of Jabulani just yesterday, we saw people being robbed of their televisions. So people who had stolen things or had looted things were also not safe themselves on the road, because they were then targeted by other criminals who would then take their television sets and take whatever they had taken from the particular shop that they'd looted yesterday. So it seems as though elements of criminality have taken over whatever campaign had started in the name of freeing former President Jacob Zuma, or in the name of, the alcohol ban. It seems as though people are just going in and they're just stealing as much as possible. I mean, after our calls yesterday, we had hoped that we would have at least seen more police officers being deployed to places like such as this. We've driven around Soweto. We were in Middlelands just not so long ago, where we've heard that there has been a stampede in overnight looting, and that there are people who have lost their lives, but still there are no police on the ground monitoring the situation. Just opposite this particular mall is a police station, and yet the police are not out in their numbers. They are not out with their tear gas. They are not out with water cannon to try and disperse the crowds, people, or to protect businesses and so on. So it seems as though the police are nowhere to be seen in this particular crisis that we are seeing happening or taking place in this particular community. It is just a small police contingent from the Metro Police, unfortunately, and they seem to be overwhelmed, and they continue to be overwhelmed as a result of the masses and the number of people who keep coming to take and steal whatever they can steal. Nothing has changed since yesterday. People are moving in and out. It's just that this time around there are no arrests, no one is being arrested, and people are moving freely.
Bali, shameful, absolutely shameful, isn't it? The fact that a police station is literally across the road, literally a few meters from Jabulani Mall, but the situation is continuing. The looting spree is continuing unabatedly. But Bali, thank you so much for your time. Please do take care. We'll be crossing to you in a moment. All right, that was Mbalenhle Mthethwa. She's speaking to us live from Jabulani Mall. We've seen incidences of carnage yesterday, ATMs bombed and shops looted. The supermarkets have been cleaned up, and even some of the pharmacies there. And just last night, I saw in another TV station, one looter speaking live on TV without a mask on, without being ashamed of being identifiable, saying that she does not care the fact that she can be seen, and the fact that she doesn't have money to buy that medication from that pharmacy. It was absolutely shameful.